whenever you understand my grammar is not good, somewhere English is not my first language, trying to understand, it's not even my second, it's my sixth language. So sometimes it may be confusing, trying to understand, but sometimes we have some mistake here and there. Please try to understand. And as today, I'll be presenting to you my personal story, the life that I went through as a person, but this life can happen to anybody. So for you to really hear my story, I will ask you one thing. I know it's very common that we use our ears to hear, but this time around I want you to use your hearts. Because when you use your hearts, you will feel the pain that I went through, or the pain that other refugees worldwide are facing. What you hear with your ears is just here and here, but it can't be in your heart. So this time around I will ask you to give me your hearts, because that's the best stage that I can present this story, the stage that sometimes when you present a different story may give you a very good platform, but that's not the best stage. The best stage is your heart, because that will have more impact. So I was born in a big family. I'm coming from Africa. Big family, which means starting from 6, 7, but mine is a little bit over that. I was born in a family of 11 people. So I was the 7th born. Being the 7th born, there's always competition. When you're eating, it's a competition. There's that you are a kid, they will give something for you. You have to compete to have your portion. So not only in terms of food, but it was in every level of life, including education. So to go to school in my country, we don't have public school, we don't have free school. You have to pay, starting from level 1 until when you finish your education. So being in a big family of 11 people, life was very difficult for my parents. They were not able to succeed or to pay the school fees for everybody. So if you go to the next slide, this is not the real picture. Just take a family of 11 people so that you can have an idea of how a family of 11 people looks like. So being the 7th born, before I was even born, I had my father lost a job. So I've never seen my father go to work. So what I knew was just maybe going in the streets, wandering, and then if he gets something, he could come back. So to say that school fees was a luxury, to get the school fees is a luxury. But for me, I wanted to go to school. My parents wanted us to have a better education, but their finance was proving them the contrary. They couldn't be able to make it. 11 people is just a lot, So whatever they wanted, but their pocket was saying, no, I can't make it. So we were trying to go to school. Sometimes I was working myself. I started working when I was 18, doing some piece work in the street so that I can get money to pay my school fees. If you go to the next slide, I've created this idea so that you can have an idea. I was going to school every day, so if you don't pay, they will send you back home. They will send you back home because you haven't paid. So for me, because I wanted to have a better education, I wanted school. So for that reason, I didn't want to go back home. I was hiding myself under the table so that the teacher who was in charge of school fee would not notice me. It was fun for me because if you didn't see me, that's an opportunity for me. I could take advantage of the lesson. But sometimes it wasn't good for other classmates. They were saying, we're paying, but you're not paying, and you're just hiding. So they could even call the teacher. So once the teacher comes, he could see me there hiding. He could sometimes use a stick. My country use a stick to correct. So sometimes he could do something like that. And when I saw him coming, maybe the other option I had is to run. So I was running. Once I saw him, I could run very fast so that he could not catch me and give me some kind of disciplinary. So one day when he came, it made him laugh because the way I was running, he came and he checked out. Before he opened the door, just coming and out, jumping very fast, and started laughing. He was like, oh. He runs like Trezon. Trezon is the name of a soccer player, one of the soccer players in my country. And he said I was running very fast like him. But every time, even when they sent me home, I was always outside at the window trying to listen what the teacher was saying. Fortunately, I was amongst the best student. If there was maybe number 1, number 2, number 3, I should be amongst those students. So I get a scholarship through a certain company. They pay me, they managed to pay for the school fees until I completed my high school in my home country, which I did biochemistry. But because the situation in my country wasn't safe for me, I decided to leave my country for my safety. As a refugee, there is 2 options. Whether you remain in your country, which means you may face death, persecution, or you have to leave your country for safety. At that time, I had no choice to decide to leave my country. So that was the first time I left my country and I crossed the border legally. I went to a neighboring country, that was Malawi. Let me give you a very short background of Malawi. Malawi is a very poor country in Africa. The majority of people live on less than $1 a day. So, being in that country as a refugee, which means I would live in less than that $1. Because if people of the country live by less than $1, as a refugee, you have no choice. So that's why I mentioned that my story today, I entitled it From the Desert to the Forest. If you go to the next slide. Why I named this story From the Desert to the Forest? Because in that refugee camp, life was very hard. There was no job, there was no food, nothing. And when I reached in that country, my first language is Swahili and French. That's my first language. Then when I went there, they were speaking English. I didn't know even how to speak good morning in my life until when I moved into that country. I've never seen another person from a different country. I wasn't exposed to other people because my family life was very limited. I couldn't have a chance maybe to go to a different country to see how other people are speaking or something like that. So that was my first time to meet another person who's speaking a different language than mine. The way I look, everybody looks different. The way I look like people from a country called Rwanda. But I'm not originally from Rwanda. I'm from Congo. So when I go into the refugee camp, the day I enter the refugee camp, normally they bring us as refugees in a big truck, UNHCR truck. So I visited the truck, I saw some group of people coming to see the new arrivals refugees. So I really see people there, and some of them greeted me in the Rwandese language. They said, Mwiriwe. I was just like, what is this? And they said, Mwiriwe. Je comprends pas. So that's the French word that means I don't understand. And some of them repeated in the French and said, you are trying to change your nationality here. Then I was a little bit confused to say, what's going on? Because that was some of the reason I left my country. So I left the place. I went to a transit shelter. A transit shelter is an open room with no door, no windows. Maybe you sleep there 20 or 50 people with no blanket because nobody was there to provide me a blanket. So I could survive on fries mates every day. So I was about to die, then I said, no, I can't die alone. I have to go and seek some help. That's when I went to see a community leader from the Congolese people. Then when I reached there, I introduced myself to him that I am from Congo and I need help. He just looked at me and said, you don't look at somebody from Congo. You look at somebody from Rwanda. Then I said, no, I'm not from Rwanda. I've never been to Rwanda before. Then he took his phone and he called the leader of the Rwandese community, and he also came, and he also greeted me in the same language, Mwiriwe. I was like, oh my God, I don't understand again this language. And he was like, he's not from Rwanda. So he was not able to help me, and the community leader from Congo was not able to help me. That day, I felt the Lord. It's that day I felt the smell of the desert. On that day, I felt no. On that day, I felt like life is useless. I left. I had no place to sleep. So I went to a church. They offered me a place to sleep, a house. It's called a house because it has 4 walls, but it's like when you are inside, at night you see the stars, you see the moon, and when it's in the morning, you see even the sun, which means it was almost empty. There was no roofing. So my life became very hard. In the refugee camp, they were giving food to people, but it was not enough. They were giving like 1 pound of beans and 14 kgs of maize. How can somebody survive with 1 pound of beans for 30 days? So I had to count one grain after another and find out how many grains of beans I have, and how should I make sure that it's enough for me for 30 days until the next distribution. And I could not find a job because I was not able to speak the language that people were speaking there. I was speaking a completely different language. They were speaking English and Chichewa. So I had myself to find a way how I can learn how to speak English. That's when I enrolled myself in English classes. I started learning English. Little by little, I could know how to speak good morning, and with what I'm speaking now today through that process. I started going to school. Life was very hard. I finished school, and they offered me a position as a primary school teacher, and later on they offered me a position as a teacher again at high school, where I was teaching physical science and mathematics. From there, I started feeling a little bit changed, they started giving me a month around $50. So $50 for me at that time was like life-saving. Per month was, oh my God. And that time I started feeling the smell of the forest coming into my life, slowly. And I said, wow, life can change. But it wasn't enough. One day I remember I was making bricks, building houses for people. I was doing any kind of job that I can see. Even digging in part of Africa, we have toilets, normally we call bathroom. It's like you dig a very, like 10 meters hole down there. You just put something there on top and you leave a small hole there, and somebody can just come there and do whatever. So I was doing those kind of jobs so that they can pay me some money. So I managed to save some money. I bought a second-hand bicycle. I went to buy charcoal. So when I was going to buy charcoal, it was in a neighboring village. It was very far, like maybe I can say 10 miles away from here, in a mountain road. I was going to sell charcoal, to buy charcoal so that I can bring it back to the refugee camp to sell, to make some profit, so that I can have some more food in my life. One day I remember I left school, it was around 3 p.m. after learning English so that I can one day be able to speak. I went to the forest to pick charcoal, and in my way back, I was very tired. I had like 200 pounds of charcoal on my bicycle. Let me show you a picture of how 200 pounds of charcoal looks like. Can you go to the like this. Something like this.
Oh my goodness.
It's something like this. I was taking it. This is not me, but it's exactly what I was doing. So, 10 miles. I have to do this, 10 miles. I have to come back at night, like 1 a.m. in the forest, yourself. I was alone in the forest, without food, without water. And I remember that day, I was like going with my bicycle, moving in a very dark forest, alone. I was singing so that I can have some power. I was singing a song in my mother tongue, so pushing bicycle, but energy in me wasn't enough, and I felt down. There was no power in my legs. I felt. It was around 2 a.m. again that time. Then I said, no, I've just sleep here. I put my bags down, my bicycle down, and take my head and put it on the bag of charcoal. And I slept. Around 4 a.m., 5 a.m., you know, as a body, when the cold into your body, you can gain a little bit strength. Then I was still saying, oh, in the morning I still have to go to school. So I woke up, I got some power in my legs, and I raised up my bicycle. Again, I start going, so that I can reach to village and sell my charcoal, hopefully to go back again to school. And suddenly I heard a car behind me. It was the forest officer. In Malawi, you have the forest officer taking care of the forest so that people should not cut trees. But that's right, people have to cut trees so they can make charcoal. But the government was saying if people keep on cutting the trees, deforestation, climate change, so they were trying to arrest anybody who can sell charcoal. And especially as a refugee, if they arrest you, no mercy. So I heard a car coming behind me. It was the Malawi forest officer. They kicked me down. Without asking, I was down there, and they picked my bicycle and my charcoal, and they put it in their car, and they left. Alone in the forest. I didn't feel pain because I was alone, but I felt a lot of pain because of my bicycle. That was the source of income. I've waited for so long to get that bicycle. So I started going back to the camp where I have to go back to school at around 7 a.m., 8 a.m. So I was just going. I reached close to the refugee camp. I saw a certain woman. We normally call her by the name of Mama Kabange. And she called me, Henry, come. Then I was like, what's going on? She said, no. There was a wind, there was a kind of wind coming by, and in case you're looking for your house, it's down there on the football ground. Then I was like, what do you say? Which means the roofing of my house was taken by the wind, and it went far away to the football ground. Then I started running to go to my house, and when I reached to my house, I completely found exactly what Mama Kabani was telling me. I mean, there was nothing on the roofing of my house. And when the wind comes, which means the sun, everything was again into my food, every places. So it was so bad. I was like, how can I arrange this? Let me show you how the house looks like. Can you go to the second slide? The house looks like this in the refugee camp. So the roofing was taken, and it was again in the rainy season. Imagine, it was in the rainy season. So I reached there, I checked my food, there was soil in everything. my bed, and it was not even a bed the way that you are thinking. You take bricks, this kind of bricks, you make like 3 lines, you fill soil inside. That was my bed. And then you put just a blanket on top, and you sleep there. So it was hard for me, but I survived. So I say, okay, anyway, let me try to arrange this. And when I was trying to repair my roping, I heard the sound of the rain coming. The rain was coming at a high speed that I couldn't repair this again. I couldn't arrange this again. So even if there was rain, that particular day, I remember again I felt the smell of the desert, even though there was rain right there. How can you feel the smell of the desert in a rain season? I felt it. And I could not even get a different job because it was in the rain season. My life was bad. Until one day when they promoted me to a paid position as a physical and mathematics teacher, when they started paying me, and then I stopped going again to sell charcoal. After some days, they returned back my bicycle by the Malawi police, but my charcoal was nowhere to be seen. They have taken it already. So after some days, I met my wife. I had nothing, and I had like $0.01 in my pocket. That's what I had. And the day I talked to her, she loved me anyway. She loved me anyway. Sometimes when I talk with her today, she's like, I don't know what pushed me even to love you because you had like $0.01 in your pocket. So with time, $50 every month, I started like saving some money, and I created a platform for children where I was teaching them poetry, how to perform drama, how to write short stories, and the different things. So that particular positions helped me to gain a lot of skills from different people, and that's when other agencies came in and said, you are doing a great job in the community, we are going to offer you a job. So they offered me a job as a community mobilizer, where they started paying me. So imagine in that particular refugee camp, where finding a job was very difficult, I ended up having 2 jobs. So I felt like the smell of the desert going away, and I started feeling the smell of the forest coming into my life. And in 2017, 2016, I was selected to come to the US. We don't choose as refugees to come to the US. They just say, okay, we can take you to the US. We can take you to Canada. You don't choose, it's not your choice. So I was selected to come to the US. And when they told me, I was like, oh my God, now I'm leaving the desert, I'll be directly into the forest, where there will be a lot of animals, trees, water, and different things. And remember how you can be aware of the Trump administration was a little bit difficult on immigration. That's when everything again was stopped. And my hope was taken away again. At that time, I was like, oh, I will go to America. But Trump said, no, refugees, the admission for refugees were reduced again, so I was among the people who were declined again. So I started keeping up with my job, the 2 jobs that I had, teaching children. I was teaching like 800 to 1,000 children every day. Yes, in 5 different languages, because you have to teach everybody, but children are coming there from refugee camps. They speak Swahili, French, Chichewa, some English. So I was teaching them poetry, drama, how to paint, how to draw, but how can I teach all those kids in one language if some can understand? So I was mixing all those languages so that every child can be can get their portion. So in 2018, that's when I received a call that my case is now approved. I should get ready to come to the US within 1 week. It was very hard for me to prepare handover of my office, my 2 jobs, and at the same time prepare my journey to come to the US. A land that I've never seen, a land that I only hear on the news that there is a lot of people there, a land that I always put as a forest, but I've never been there. So that's why in 2018, around September, it was in the 11th of September, that was my first day even going to the plane. Imagine somebody coming from a very, very down, poor country, in a very poor area of that poor country, and then raised to the first world country and in a big city like Seattle. Imagine. So it's like jumping from 0 to 1 million in a second, and I can't imagine how you can feel. That's what I felt. I felt both happiness and sadness. At the same time, I was like, oh my God, now I've been taken away from my roots. I knew nobody in America. I knew nothing about America. I knew only what I had there. So I felt like I was taken away from my roots, uprooted with my family, to go and planted in a different place, in a forest, where you don't know how the land looks like, how the leopard looks like. So that was the bad side of the story. I felt so bad. But at the same time I said, yes, if I'm able to survive in this desert, I can be able to survive in the forest, right? Because there is a lot of water. When I say water, I say animals, I say trees. It's the opportunities here in America. There is a lot of opportunities. That's why in 2018 when I created my first job, it was in a warehouse. I was uploading over, I don't know, maybe 50 bucks, 200 bucks per hour. You know, it was a lot. I was always going back home, very tired. I remember one day I reached home around 2 p.m. My wife prepared food and she just put on table. She thought like I was, but I was already gone, sleeping. And then when I woke up, she was just beside of me. She was crying. She was crying, and I looked at her, and she told me, "Is there any way for us to go back to Africa? Because we cannot expect this life in America. We thought this is a forest, not a desert. How come again you are suffering, even more again than what we're suffering in Malawi, in the refugee camp? Can we go back again?" Then I looked at her and I said, if I was able to survive in the desert, I can survive in the forest. And I'm happy today. I'm working as an employment specialist, helping a lot of refugees. And in 2020, I was even able to buy my house. Thank you very much for sharing, for listening to my story. You can go to the next slide. That's all for you today. Thank you very much for your time. All right, so that's all. I don't know if there's questions, feel free.
So it's up to you. If you've got questions, feel free to raise your hand.
Yes, please.
So when you got to the refugee camp, and when you tried to talk to the community leader for people from Dzaleka, why did they not believe you?
First of all, Congo and Rwanda, there are two kinds of conflicts up to date. And there is a lot of conflict going on up to date between the two countries. So they are like really enemies. So when I went to the refugee camp, the way I look, I look like some people from Rwanda. Because a lot of people from Rwanda, they are thin like me, tall and small. My small is really small. But people from Congo, they are naturally big, a little bit short, and big nose. So the way they just look at me, he said, no, you don't look Congo. So he saw exactly like I'm the enemy trying to change the nationality there. And that's why that particular day, if you remember, it's the time when I said some people from Rwanda looked at me Mwiriwe. They thought I was from Rwanda, but I was not. It's just the way God created me. Yes, please.
First of all, what are the 6 languages that you speak?
Fluently, I speak French, which is my like the first Swahili, and you know there is like different kind of Swahili. There is Swahili of Tanzania, there is Swahili of Kenya, there is Swahili of Burundi, and there is Swahili of Congo, which is also 2 Swahili. One is associated with French, and another one is associated with English because Congo is big, and it's like some part they are associated with English, some part is associated with French. So that's like French, Swahili. I speak English. I think I speak. I also speak Chichewa. It's a language from Malawi. I speak Chinyanja. It's a language from Zambia. I also speak Lingala. It's a language from Congo as well. And the Chiluba. So those are something I feel comfortable to speak, but the other language maybe I can just try to understand sometimes. Yeah. Yes, please.
What did you think America would be like, and how was it different from what you expected?
How is it different from other countries?
Yeah.
America, as I said, is a forest. There is a lot of opportunities here. First of all, it's a country where there is a lot of people from different countries, different origin, which means make it work again by having multiple set of brain at one place. So this is an opportunity for me because I feel like in my country there is no those opportunities. We are just one community. If our brain is limited, we are just there. We can't proceed. But America is like a land of people from different countries, different culture, and different skills as well. That's why I feel like this is a land of opportunity. Yes, there is order here. There is from 0 to 1. Order is there. The system is working and people working. In my country, people are trying to force into work, but they don't have a system that controls the work. That makes it again difficult. And it's still a poor country, although we sometimes, there is powerful country outside there are also influencing our country can be run. But America, no other country can influence how America should be run. So those are some of the differences. So here there's a lot of opportunities. Yeah. Yes, please.
Do you still talk to your family?
Recently, yes, I've started talking with my family, but at first it was a little bit challenging because I lost contact with them. And even if recently I got their contact, but smartphone is still a challenge there. So if I call them, maybe a normal call is again expensive. So they have to get maybe something like a smartphone. And it was a little bit time because we have to teach them from far to use some smartphone, but recently I'm okay, able to talk with them. Yes, please.
You mentioned it was in the Bible read and in your story about your wife wanted to go back to Africa when you first came here. Is that still the case, or now that you kind of have a more stable job, are you happy? Or
It's no longer an option to go back.
I know it's not an option, but is she still, like, is she happier here now?
Yes, right now she's very happy. She's very happy. She doesn't want again to go back because yes, now we are financially we are somewhat stable. Yes, please.
Do you wish any parts of America were more like your home?
If there is any part of America is the same as my home,
Do you want America to be more like your home or where you stay?
if America can be like my home. I can say, yes, I would love America to be like my home. How America looks like, what my home country can be in terms of opportunity. But some other things we can change, like the weather for me is still challenging up to now. It's too cold here. My first time when I came here, I was like feeling so cold, and I was like seeing young girls with short. I was like, it was very difficult. We never witnessed this temperature in my country, or even I don't remember that time. Yes, it may be a little bit hot, but again, not hotter than here. Sometimes, yes, again. I think everything here is on the west. So if it's opportunity, we have too much opportunity. If it's too cold, again, it's too cold. Yeah, but I can't compare America to my country right now. My country is still too young. America has been developed for so long, so it's very difficult to bring that comparison right now. Yes, please.
Did you get much help when you came here, or were you kind of on your own?
I'm sorry?
Did you get help when you came to Seattle, or were you on your own?
We get help through the refugees agencies. So they give us loans to come here, and once we are here, we return back that loan. And once we come here, they also help us with funding the house. The government always allocates like $1,225 per person, and you should get the job or you should be financially stable within 3 months, which is a little bit challenging, as I said, coming from poor country to the first world country, and they expect you to be stable within 3 months. Imagine if you were not able to speak English. There's a lot of things that we're not able to see in our country, and we just see them here. We don't have big highways like here. We don't have big freeways like here. And suddenly they say, cross that road. When I came here, my face, I had some friends. When they saw it coming, because in my country we have 2 options. You look left and right, you run. But here, people cross the road with headphones here. So in my country, when my first time when I was crossing the road here, I would see some cars and I was like, but the driver was like, what's going on? So there's a lot of difference in here. But now I'm okay, I'm able to cross the road. Yes, please. Yes, I have 3 boys. Here or there?
Well, like, there's no, like, what will you take from that and then give your kids? Like, what advice, what lessons that they're
More advice I will always give them is, just first of all, raising children here is, I don't know if I can say simple, good, or difficult. It may be difficult to raise a child here than in my country, because the country, America, has a lot of rules that protect children, and it makes it sometimes a little bit harder on the side of parents to be a little bit free. For example, in my country, I can leave my 5 years old child at home alone. I can go and search money, but here you can't, right? So, here for kids is good, but for parents, if you're alone, you can't, go maybe do something, you have to take care of that child. But in terms of education, I always tell my kids that you are growing in this life where you see everything at your table. I remember in my family, we did not have a fridge filled with food. But here, every time my child goes to the fridge and find food, I remember one day I prepared tea for my child. I put milk, but I forget to put there is something that we put in the bread.
Butter?
Yes. I forgot to put that, and my child was sitting and looked at me, Daddy, what about? And I was like, what are you saying? I can't remember the day I had breakfast at my house when I was a child. And today I'm giving you this meal. And you're saying it's not enough? So always I'll be teaching my kid that there is hard life outside there. There's other people who are still suffering. Sometimes there was a time that my child refused to take that tea. I said, drink it. I would give him everything, but I take him to the street. I show him a homeless looking for bread. And since that day, he always save whatever can remain and put it back in the fridge. So I have to tell my kid that there is a lot of people outside there that don't have this opportunity that we have today. So in terms of culture, it's a very different culture here. I can't change it suddenly. It's just in my family here. I was born in a country raised for 25 years, and I cannot suddenly change. You know, there's other things I'm still learning, and sometimes I still have to be a little bit patient. In my country, there is two problems. You correct, you threaten a tree when it's still young, not when it's old, because when it's old, you can't. So we correct a child when they're still young. And they use only one way to correct a stick. Beat. Here I cannot do that, you know? I can't do that. So sometimes, when my child does something, sometimes I hand up there, I remember. Then my child will be like, now beat me. So sometimes it's a little bit challenging in terms of culture, the way I was raised. Maybe I want to raise my kid in that way, but sometimes the culture here, the Lord here is not maybe on my side, or you know, I have just to adjust myself, but at the same time, I'm afraid to hand over my culture. You know, I have a culture that I don't want to hand over in the names of what is here. So I have to balance between which is right, especially for the child, because I already spent almost half of my life, so I have to do it for my child. You know. Yes, please.
This is just sort of a question I'm curious about. What was it like when you came to Seattle and were coming from spending a lot of time having the same foods, coming to this place that has all of these cuisines from all around the world? What was that like for you?
My first day, I was looking for burger. I thought it was so good and beautiful. It was very happy, but there is, in terms of food, I'm still struggling up today. I don't know the name of food. Sometimes if I go to the restaurant, McDonald's or whatever, they say, what do you want? They say, give me whatever you can. Because I don't know the names. So, and the food taste here is a little bit again different, because here everything, they put it into rush. You know, if a chicken is 2 weeks chicken and you start eating, but in my country a chicken can be 6 years old, and then when you're eating that you feel all the taste, you know, you feel everything original. So that transition is still very difficult for me, but there's no other choice. I have to adapt to that situation. Yes, please, I saw there was a hand. Yes, please.
Okay, well, first of all, I just want to say thank you again for coming and sharing your story. And secondly, clearly art and poetry and drama is very important to you. And you said a little bit about it in your bio, but I was wondering if you could speak more on art and how that gives meaning to life.
It's how it gives meaning to life.
Yeah.
When I was in the refugee camp, there is a lot of children are orphans because their parents were killed in the war, their mother were raped, they find themselves into the refugee camp, orphans. So no one was there to speak for them. And if there was somebody to speak for them, he will speak first in what is their friend, not for them. So when I created that platform, basically the main idea was kids to explain or to express things that is affecting their life openly. And it was also as a therapy, you know, it was a therapy for them, and it was also a way for them to come together to destroy that mentality of conflict between, it's our parents' fault. Rwanda and the Congo fight. It's our parents, but we children were victims. So when they come together, they can create that cooperation between them. They could exchange skills, and because there was not any school there, it was also an opportunity for them to learn and to hear from other people. So more especially, it was therapy for the kids. They could, and that organization, that program is still running up today. They have over than 2,000 children attending. So it's become like a way for them to express, to write their story. When you speak out, you release. And that's why today when I'm speaking my story, some people are not able to show their part of their weakness. But for me, it's not a weakness, it is strength. Where there is struggle, there is power, you know? So when you don't recognize your struggle, you can't recognize your power. So that's why I give that platform to the children, so that when they can write their struggle, when they can draw their struggle, they'll definitely be able to recognize what is their strength. Yes.
What language you speak among your children, and if it's English, are you teaching them other alternative types?
That's a very good question. As I said, English is my second language, but for my kids, they are very young, so they learn fast English. So sometimes I teach them Swahili because I want them to be able to communicate with my relatives. Because I know automatically they will know English here. So I teach them Swahili, and I talk Swahili with them at home, but it's also challenging for them. Sometimes when my child is speaking, in one sentence, he mix like two languages, Swahili and English. Sometimes I feel so bad for him, but I also feel bad for myself because sometimes I say something and my child just laughs. That is not that way. Yeah, I try to speak Swahili so that they can be able to know where they come from. Yes, please come on with questions.
I have a question. Oh, actually, you just didn't have a question?
Yeah, you can go.
No, please. Go ahead.
I'm not sure if I missed this, but I was wondering why you had to leave the Congo in the first place.
That part is, I don't want much to reveal on that, but it's because of conflict between Congo and Rwanda. If you're more careful when I was trying to explain this, you could pick it in the story. There was a conflict between Congo and Rwanda. It was like a genocide. They were killing any Congolese found in Rwanda or any Rwandese found in Congo. So they could not ask, but just by appearance, a group of people could just come and kill you, ban you, something like that. I was the victim of those multiple times. Then I say, I can't convince a group of people coming to me. So I remember one day I was coming from school, and one of the kids at school shouted, "Is there an ace?" I was like, and I saw already people said, "Oh, where is he? Where is he?" And it wasn't safe for me. One time they even arrested me by some young guys in the street, started beating me, and until I would say no, let me call my father. It's not written in my story, but I'm just saying because it's what you asked. Then they said, no, we can't kill yourself, we have to kill your father. So they said, call your father. So I was taken by the police. They called my father, give them the address, and they went to arrest my father. So when my father came, he looks Congolese. And they say, where are you from? He said, you should not ask me, where is my child? Then They released me because proved them that I was from Congo, but that situation keeps on repeating. In my country, there is no set up system anywhere we have identities and something like that. You can't prove, especially to a group, if it's the mob coming to you, you can't prove. So that was one of the reasons I left my country. Yes, please.
So these students, this is their last year at the school, and then they'll leave for the university, go to work, become adults. What advice do you have for them as they enter adulthood?
The best advice I will have for you guys is take the opportunities in front of you. Take and use any opportunity given to you. Respect your teachers because they are part of your development. We have parents, they start teaching us, especially mom, when you are still inside, you see a mom trying to do her belly, touch her belly, she's communicating with you, she's teaching you. And when you come out, in my country we say you are now in charge of the community. Community will teach you. The world has its own education, but choose what is right and don't go to what is not right. Because there is a lot of bad things out there. And just be humble. You know, when you are humble, you will see how the world, the fruit of the world. But if you are arrogant, the world will not open to you. There is a lot of people outside there, they may talk to you if you just humble yourself. And myself, I'm always humble to not show very fast what is my strength. I try to show my weakness so that I get help. Because my strength will remain in me, but my weakness is only when somebody can come and help me to take it out. So I try to show people what can be my weakness so that they can help me. But you can use other style on how you can know how life is the best teacher. So when you're going out in this world, please always know that there is no another person than you. You are the only person in this world, and try to make this world a little bit better than you find it, you know. Just a little bit. Don't make maybe too much, maybe you can't make it yourself, but ask yourself what's one step positive that when I leave this world, people will be saying about me, you know? Because life is so short, we can't even control it, but we have to ask ourselves, when we leave this world, what will people say about you? Will they say bad things or positive things? What people will remember about you? I know today, if Bill Gates, I don't wish him to die, but if he passed away, we will say Microsoft is there. We will say this is there. What about you? Have you asked yourself, when I die today, what thing will people think about me? They will say that that particular girl was just laughing, that boy was just having fun, or they will say we could learn from him. So I think that's maybe my message.
Thank you.